So, is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre a dead game? No. But also yes. Kinda. It depends on what you mean by dead. You see, TCM's player base is surprisingly healthy. It's not popping off like Dead by Daylight, but it hasn't quite flatlined like the recently delisted Evil Dead the game. TCM is only dead in the sense that it's been almost completely abandoned by the game's creators, Gun Interactive, with the last major update releasing all the way back on December 12th, 2024, nearly half a year ago, and still zero communication on when another major update is coming to the game. So although the player base isn't dead, the game itself feels like abandonware, similar to what happened with Red Dead Online. So the major question is, why has Gun abandoned a game that so many people love and still play on a daily basis? To understand how the game has reached this state, we need to take a look at the studio behind it, Gun Interactive. Gun is best known for their work on Friday the 13th the game, which launched in 2017 and was met with a strong positive reception from the horror gaming community. Despite technical limitations, it was praised for its authenticity and for capturing the spirit of the franchise. That success allowed Gun to secure the rights to adapt the Texas Chainsaw Massacre into a multiplayer horror game as well, and once again they succeeded in terms of authenticity, world building, and tone. The game faithfully represents the source material and offers a unique take on asymmetrical multiplayer gameplay, but the same issue that affected Friday the 13th is now repeating itself. Gun Interactive is not equipped to manage a live service model. They are creators, they are not maintainers. Live service work is outsourced to partners like Sumo Digital and Black Tower. But without strong oversight or ongoing engagement from the main studio, the support structure collapses quickly, and this time there's no lawsuit to blame it on. In addition, Gun has also struggled severely with community relations. During the early months of TCM's release, interactions between the developers and the player base were often very unprofessional. The studio engaged with obvious trolls, all while dismissing actual valid criticism at the same time, and displayed an unwillingness to adapt the game balance based on player feedback. In addition, the game began to shift in a direction the developers did not intend. Gun really expected TCM to be another major success like Friday the 13th, but ultimately ended up making a bunch of design decisions that pushed the game in a way more competitive direction than it was intended to be. The devs were always very clear from the beginning that TCM was supposed to be a casual experience.
Again, there was also a question about leaderboards. Is there going to be leaderboards? Again, no, because that again leads into a type of game that this isn't. It isn't a game about, look, I'm the best. This game is, I'm having fun with my friends. I'm making new friends. Is that it creates that type of camaraderie. And what we don't lean into is the competitive side of it, because it starts to breed a different type of player. It's not one that's right or wrong. It skews off of friendship sometimes. It starts to create a different atmosphere that doesn't fit into what I think the game's supposed to be, or even the IP itself. You know, when you watch Friday the 13th, when you watch Texas Chainsaw, you're with your homies sitting in a basement like this, eating popcorn and talking about what would you have done if you were in that situation, right? We make games that answer that question. That's the point of this. We don't make games to say, I'm better than you, right? It's a vibe difference, and it's what we do at Gun, and I hope you guys appreciate those types of games. It's the kind of games that we like to play. We like to laugh, we like to cut up with each other, and we think when you create a sandbox in a game that allows for that type of environment, people walk away from it, you know, having water cooler moments that they talk about and laugh with their friends later. And I think that's a more powerful connection than, ha, I'm better than you.
So when they short-sightedly and accidentally made a super competitive game, it created a lot of bitterness on the part of the devs at Gun, and you could feel it oozing off the walls in the last few live streams they did before they went radio silent.
On behalf of all the community, can you apologize for everything your community is going through with your game? We never heard sorry. I'm not sure what there is that needs to be apologized for, but if you feel that An apology is needed, absolutely, I'll say it. I'm sorry.
So if you were to load into TCM now as a new player, you would have no matchmaking to protect you from veteran players. Everyone would have beefed up MMO level attributes that make them into Souls-like bosses, fully leveled up abilities, per tier level ups that would make any DVD player die inside, and that's on top of all of their gameplay experience. So it's an absolute nightmare of a competitive game, the complete opposite of what the devs intended to create. Now, one of the last things the devs actually added to TCM was Rush Week, a small-scale new game mode for TCM that is a spiritual recreation of their Friday the 13th game. Once again, the devs were very excited about it, saying that it was something they wanted to expand upon in the future. As always, they do have that passion for creating new things, and Rush Week is really the ideal platform for them to do that, as it was a way more casual experience like they wanted, and they get to create entirely new stories around it at the same time. So then what happened? Why, after the seemingly uninterested launch of their last major DLC, did they just seem to disappear? Well, the most obvious answer is that they're hard at work creating something new, only they can't talk about it, which means most likely they're working on an entirely new game. The writing is kind of on the wall here, and anyone who has been paying enough attention is probably getting a similar vibe. Remember, Gunn has a serious reputation for adapting iconic horror movie franchises into video game form. That means it's very likely that they've been approached or somehow got an opportunity to make a whole new horror game based on one of these iconic franchises, just like they did with TCM after the success of Friday the 13th. And to their credit, TCM sold over 1 million units, had a deal to keep the game on Xbox Game Pass for a year. It had multiple DLCs and was added to PlayStation Plus just as recently as April. With all of this, it's estimated the game cost around $12 million to develop and saw somewhere around $40 million in revenue. So no matter how you feel about TCM, it's an enormous financial success. So it's completely possible that a franchise like Terrifier, for example, which would fit Gunn very well, and Steve Barton, the producer of Terrifier, has been very adamant on getting a Terrifier chapter in DVD or a standalone Terrifier game, which Gunn would do an excellent job at, I'm sure of that. Also, if we go back to Friday the 13th, the license dispute has been mostly settled now, and the rights are now owned by Horror Inc., who have displayed a major interest in a big expansion of the Jason franchise. The Twitter account for this Jason universe recently followed not only the official Friday the 13th game account, but also Gunn Interactive as well, which could be a major sign that we might be getting a remaster, remake, or even a sequel to Friday the 13th the game, which would be very exciting. However, that brings us to the elephant in the room, which is how much damage has Gunn done to themselves as a brand. There's no way to mince words here. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre situation feels like a massive betrayal of every fan of the game, and asking them to trust you with an entirely new game, even a remake, seems like a hard sell. Asking players to not only buy your game, but also buy your DLCs and cosmetic packs, only to turn away and throw the entire thing in the garbage like a used paper towel, is a shit way to treat your community. Now, there have been leaks that imply there is still new content coming to TCM in the future, which is great, but it is not enough. TCM needs a live service team that actually has passion for the game, just like the player base does. The disinterested, pissy vibe from Gunn surrounding the game needs to stop. Come out and be honest about the future plans for the game, or at least do the honorable thing and pass the game to a studio that is willing to treat it and the community in a respectful manner. Monthly balance patches, roadmaps, developer communication, these are the things we need in a live service game. Currently, it feels like Gunn is trying to play both sides of the fence and pretend TCM is a true live service game to push DLC sales, but in reality, the intention seems to be winding down to an all too familiar announcement that future support for the game is going to cease altogether. It's just such a pity because TCM is a fantastic game. It's why it's still played daily, while most of the other new asymmetrical horror games have died off completely. The quality is there, the player base is there, we just don't have anyone steering the ship because they're already on a lifeboat headed for the next big thing. We have just been left behind. But with that, let me know how you feel, or better yet, let me know what you would personally like to say to Gunn Studio down in the comments. I'm gonna hand you the mic and give you the chance to talk to them directly. And with that, as always, thanks so much for watching and have a good one.